The story revolves around a young couple, Amita and Elish. Thanks to their online business, they can work from literally anywhere. So they go ahead and fulfill this lifelong dream of buying a secluded house in a small mountain village in Himachal. I mean, it's the ultimate fantasy for so many of us, right? Just escaping the noisy city for a peaceful mountain retreat. But what we're going to uncover today is the highly structured, almost systematic way a supernatural trap was actually being set for them from day one. The entity's very first weapon is just pure deception. Just think about this stark contrast. On the outside, you've got this picturesque, large yellow house. It's bathed in sunlight, surrounded by tall trees and gorgeous flowers. Honestly, it's picture perfect. But the second Amita opens that front door, the whole illusion just shatters. The inside is shrouded in this deep, unnatural darkness, even in the middle of the day. It's filthy, it looks long abandoned, and it reeks of a terrible, rotting stench. They just assume, it needs a good deep clean. They are completely unaware that this physical decay is actually a reflection of the trap they've just walked right into. Now, this haunting doesn't kick off with your traditional jump scares. Instead, we enter phase 1, sensory corruption. The entity essentially uses these grotesque sensory details to slowly chip away at Amita's psychological defenses. Picture this. On their very first night, Amita is trying to cook. She slices into what look like completely fresh vegetables, only to find them totally rotten on the inside and just swarming with black bugs. Yeah, absolutely disgusting. They end up just eating plain bread and butter. But then it escalates. Pretty soon, the whole house fills with the inescapable, horrific stench of rotting meat mixed with the heavy smell of burning herbs. It's like the entity is sending a clear message: nothing in this house is safe to eat, safe to breathe, or safe to trust. Once the victim's senses are compromised, the trap tightens. Let's move right into phase 2, space and time distortion. Things escalate, and they escalate fast. Notice how the attacks always strike in the dead of night, specifically designed to isolate Amita. At 4:30 a.m. on the first night, Elish is found out in the garden. He's just mindlessly digging a massive grave with a shovel, wearing this super creepy, bizarre smile. When Amita finally snaps him out of it, he has zero memory of how he even got there. Then, on night 2, Amita follows a heavy dragging sound that leads her to a hidden basement beneath the stairs. She finds Elish sitting in a rocking chair, just staring blankly at a black bottle. And it gets crazier. Later, at 3 a.m., the literal physics of the room completely break down. Elish is violently levitating above their bed, struggling like he's bound by invisible chains. Her husband is literally becoming a human puppet for whatever dark forces are lurking in that basement. And here's the crucial detail. Behind all of this chaos, there is a central figure pulling the strings. Down in that basement, lit only by a dim red lantern, Amita finally sees her. It's a terrifying shadow woman with long dark hair and completely hollow white eyes, standing right behind Elish. And when Elish looks up, his pupils are totally gone too. This shadow woman steps right out of the darkness and physically attacks Amita, choking her until she completely loses consciousness. The entity has finally revealed itself, and it's crystal clear that Amita is the primary target. Which brings us to phase 3, the dream loop. This is where the entity actively traps her inside her own mind. The methodology here is just pure psychological torture. Think about it. Step 1, Amita gets choked out in the basement. Step 2, she falls into what she thinks is just a horrible nightmare. She's outside in the pitch black night, frantically digging in the dirt with her bare hands like an absolute maniac, digging until her nails break and her fingers literally bleed. But then comes step 3. She wakes up in her bed. The sun is shining. She takes a breath, thinking she's safe, right? But then she looks down. Her hands are covered in real dirt and dried, real blood. The entity is blurring the lines of reality so intensely that Amita honestly has no way of knowing if she's awake in the real world or permanently trapped inside a nightmare. This mental torture rapidly reaches a boiling point, bringing us to the climax. Reality shatters. The second she runs back inside the house to escape, every single door and window forcefully slams shut and the main door locks on its own. In one violent instant, every light bulb in the entire house just shatters. The walls literally begin to weep, emitting these awful crying sounds as puddles of thick black blood spontaneously bubble up on the floor. It's a massive, calculated sensory overload. The entity is deploying the whole shebang just to paralyze Amita with absolute fear, cornering her perfectly for the final stripe.
And the tension peaks when her own husband is turned into the ultimate weapon against her. Elish advances on her, wielding a heavy, rusty axe completely coated in black blood. His eyes have gone entirely white again. And if that isn't bad enough, hovering right behind him is the spirit of a terrifying man with his facial flesh literally rotting and falling off. In this horrific, distorted voice, Elish screams out that no one is going to survive. As Amita is backing away in sheer terror, she bumps right into that horrific shadow woman from the basement who chokes her out yet again.
So what happens next? Let's get into the chilling aftermath with the medical mystery and the lore.
One patient, just Amita. See, she wakes up from that nightmare to a completely normal, physically clean house. Her husband is sleeping peacefully in bed, the basement is totally empty, but the true psychological damage has finally taken root. The next morning, Eilish literally cannot wake her up. He even throws water on her face, and nothing. Suddenly, she starts suffering from severe, violent fits and seizures. He rushes her to a clinic and eventually a major hospital. And here's the terrifying medical mystery. All of her reports come back perfectly normal. Brain scans, blood work, everything is fine. But her heartbeat is racing dangerously fast. She is locked in a deep coma, physically lying in a safe hospital bed, while mentally, she's fighting a desperate battle for her life entirely inside her own mind.
Now, while Amita's fighting for her life in a coma, a desperate Eyelash goes back to the mountain house to figure out what happened. And there, sitting outside, is a mysterious old man who finally gives us the real answer. He tells Eyelash that the entity haunting them is a Piशाccini. Now, this isn't your run-of-the-mill ghost that just knocks over furniture. A Piशाccini is a very specific demonic entity that preys directly on the mind. It ensnares its victims in an inescapable labyrinth of their own terrifying dreams, specifically to slowly siphon away their life force while they sleep.
And then the old man drops this absolute bombshell that anchors the entire haunting. He tells Eyelash, this house is cursed. Several corpses are buried beneath it. Empty it immediately. I mean, talk about a tragic irony. This ultimate dream house, this sunny yellow home surrounded by beautiful flowers, was literally built on top of a foundation of hidden death and decay. Suddenly the rotting smells, the black bugs, Eyelash mindlessly digging a grave in the garden, they weren't just random scares. They were direct echoes of the house's true, incredibly dark history.
Let's wrap up with escape and lingering doubts. Following that urgent warning, Eyelash doesn't waste a single second. He immediately vacates the cursed house and arranges for some intense religious rituals that, miraculously, manage to pull Amita right out of her coma. She wakes up completely sobbing, trying to explain the sheer agony and isolation she felt while totally trapped inside the nightmare of that house. But while they survived, we're left with a seriously haunting final detail. After giving Eyelash the warning, that mysterious old man began walking toward the forest, and then he just vanished into thin air. Eyelash actually theorized later that the old man was a wandering spirit himself. So we're going to end our explainer today with this thought. Was that old man just a helpful local, or was he another stolen soul, another victim whose life was drained by the Piशाccini, just desperately trying to save this young couple from sharing his fate? And if he was a victim, it really makes you wonder exactly how many other innocent lives are still permanently trapped inside the endless nightmare of the dream house.
If you like this video, please subscribe the channel. Thank you.